the roll call. You want to start it? Well, you can start it, I guess.
I'm Heidi Sims.
Heidi Sims.
Mike Becker.
Any rush?
Henry Tucker.
Janet Holden, you almost forgot.
Linda Gorman.
Okay, I'm taking this out of order just a little bit. Wasn't there, who was the secretary? Does anybody know?
I think typically we just take, the city is just taking notes. No, I've got that taken care of. So
Yeah, it's on.
we can-
Okay, the next one is the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, now, the next business is to elect a chairman.
I think our current chairman is just fine.
I'll second that agreement. Or the motion. Good job.
Sorry.
Pledge of Allegiance. I guess we've got the minutes from the previous meeting.
We do not. We'll get them to you at the next meeting. It's my apologies.
Okay, so the next is a request for side yard setback variance. Has everybody read anything about the variance? And I guess we need Boyd or Don, somebody to request what you want.
Do you want to give a report on this, Matt?
I'm sorry?
Are you going to give a report on this, or do you want me to go ahead?
I figured you'd go ahead and make the pledge, but if you have any questions, you need to make the plea, but if you have any questions for me, I'd be
Do you
happy.
need me to go up to the microphone?
If you don't mind.
Okay.
Speak loud, clump somewhere in that area.
And can I get your name?
Sure. I'm Don Foreman.
Thank you.
I'm with Foreman Surveying, and I am working on a survey on this for Boyd Harris, who owns the property. This tract was a nice little tract. Boyd bought this with the idea that he would be able to subdivide this. There was no problems with that idea. Until he requested a utility locate out there. And I want to pass out copies of a title report. This is the page with the exceptions on it. And there are no exceptions for utility easements on that title report. So when he bought the property, nobody knew that there was any easements out there. Nothing was, the water line, the sewer line were not visible, but when he called for a utility locate, there they were. In asking for this, the first thing we asked for was for a variance for the width of the lot. However, the lot split specifically says that you cannot ask for a variance if there, or you cannot do a lot split if a variance is required. So in talking to Matt, we changed the request and we requested a variance for the side yard setback, which can be done. There's a difference in that both of them accomplish the same goal, but there is a difference. You gotta realize that in doing this, it is the job of the owner to prove that there is a hardship. Variances can't be granted except when there's a hardship. Generally speaking, the hardships are considered topography and other such things. In this case, the way the utilities are in there, the way the sewer line goes in and the way the water line goes in, it really restricts what can be done with this property. The west tract becomes just about impossible to build upon. We came up with a very small footprint for a house. I think it's 28 by 40 is what we came up with that he can build, which is not a very big house, but you know, it's adequate for out there. And we looked at what could be done, and we can fit it on there on a 60-foot lot. However, you're encroaching upon what will be the utility easements, because the utility easements will need to be dedicated when this is all completed. And you'd be encroaching upon those utility easements, even to build a 28 by 40 foot house. So what we've requested is that there be a variance on the side yard setback to allow the house to be built within 2 feet of the property line. There is more than ample room there to have 12 feet between the houses, if that is done, because you only need a 12.5-foot setback on Columbia Street, because these lots will actually front on Singleton Street. So, you know, it works. It's not the best in the world, but considering that nobody knew anything about the utility easements, the city never recorded any utility easements on this. You know, that pretty well constitutes a hardship. So, I mean, if he had known about this, that would be one thing. But since he didn't know about it, you know, it becomes pretty much of a hardship for him to try to do anything out there. Funny thing is a lot of zoned R3, you could actually put a multi-unit building out there. But you can't do it, you have to confine it to the front also. So, are there any questions?
Got one. Is there a requirement for, if I'm gonna build something somewhere, is it the responsibility of me, isn't it, the responsibility of the builder or the person that's gonna do it, to contact city administrator or someone to make sure about all of these things such as easements before we buy it? I mean,
No.
there's not. I didn't
no.
know. Thought there might be.
And very seldom, I mean, when you get a title report that comes back and shows no easements, that's what you're relying upon.
You're out on that.
And and it really boils down to this, the city put the utilities in there.
You're right.
There may have been utility easements prepared. If they were, they may not have been signed for whatever reason. Even if they were signed, they never got recorded and there's no record of those.
No record. Okay, thank you.
So, I mean, there's no way the title company would have found this because there was no record of them.
If a variance is not made, so this would mean that only building could be in this tract 3?
No, you could put one building on what is now shown as tracts 1 and 2.
Okay. But nothing on 3?
No, there's an existing house there and it could remain.
Okay.
What is there, it's actually on a 50-foot lot down there.
Right.
Because of where the water line is, we were looking at expanding that lot, making it 75-foot in case the house is ever torn down. Gives you additional room in the future. You could put a house back on the 50-foot lot because it is an existing tract. But, you know, building on a 50-foot tract is not the most desirable thing in the world. There are houses on those and there are houses that will be built on those. But we wanted to leave more ground in there for any future replacement house there.
What kind of a problem do you foresee if there's only a 2-foot setback?
Basically what you're looking at is, I think the codes require that there be 12 foot between the houses in order to ensure that you don't have any issues with the fire code. There is sufficient room to do that. Even with a 2-foot setback, we would have, we would allow for that 12 foot on the other lot, you know, the remainder of it.
So there's still 12 feet between them.
Yes. There would be more than 12 feet between them. I mean, they can be done otherwise, but then you get into fire codes and you have to beef up the fire protection on those walls. That's not to say that you can't build closer than that, you just have to do more fire protection.
So just to clarify, the easement or whatever from the utility lines in that tract 1, that
Right.
home will or will not be?
If this variance is granted, then we don't have to worry about
Okay.
encroaching upon those utility easements.
Okay, okay. That's what I'm-
Because typically the city asks for a 20-foot utility easement.
Mhm.
That sewer is fairly deep. We could ask for it to be narrower, and we don't need to come to this board to do that. But with such a deep sewer line, I suspect they're gonna need every bit of that 20-foot easement if they ever have to dig that line up in return.
My concern is if there is a problem with that, is that gonna be enough room to repair the sewer without damaging the structure?
There should be, because we're working all along the backside of the house and near one corner of it, so there should be sufficient room to pile dirt down there. They may not stay strictly on the easement, but there's room to pile on the other side so that it wouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
A 20-foot easement is typical of what we get here in town. Columbia uses a 16-foot utility easement, and I've seen some very deep sewers on a 16-foot. 20-foot is probably preferable.
Okay.
And we prefer not to ask for the city to, reduce those. The other thing that's being done here, and I don't think I mentioned it, there's some land on the north side of this where Singleton Street used to connect to Rodney Griffin. That is being asked to be vacated. That allows us to meet the front yard setbacks, and that the city has agreed to vacate that. So that will come back to the landowner.
So could the house not be moved to the north?
No, because you got power line in there, and it's a fairly big power line with other utilities on it that would cost, be rather expensive to move that line.
Okay.
We had thought of that, but we checked with Matt and the electric department, and the cost of it becomes prohibitive.
Okay.
Now, I noticed on track one, the home there, that easement for the sewer and water back there, it looks like that only just 2 feet.
There's 2 feet to the side yard line,
Side
and
yard.
there will be about 1.5 to 2 feet
There too,
from the other easements. It'll be close to them.
yeah. Mighty, okay.
But I did not want them right on top of the easement. I wanted to stay as far away from that easement as possible.
Right.
We could actually fit it on a little less than with the 2-foot setback. The 2 foot just gives us that little bit of cushion that we need to stay away from it.
Okay.
So with the house on track one in its location, the house on track two has to be at least 12 feet over. How do we make sure that that happens?
Well, the house on track 2 is the one that's going to be built first. And it's going to be built fairly close to the property line. If he weren't to do that, then when it came time for a building permit on the other one, it would cost him more money to build because he'd have to beef up because of fire code requirements.
Okay.
So
that's gonna keep them from.
yes, then that's, the idea is, well, you don't want to have to do that, so you want to keep these as far apart as possible. Anything else? Thank you.
Matt, do you need to add anything?
If you don't mind, I might
Clarify.
just clarify, just, first of all, one question for the city and the proceedings, just making sure who is officially, I want to make sure that for preserving the record in case there's any problems, that there's just 5 of you that are voting on this, right?
I have to recuse myself because of Don, but I wanted to make sure that there was a quorum here, so.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure that and if I, maybe so I don't want to be rude, but when it comes to discussing the benefits and the pluses and minuses, that would probably be, you probably want to recuse yourself. Asking questions is probably okay, but okay. Anyway, sorry, I hate that. I want to make sure that the record is preserved. First of all, I have everything that Don said, I have no disagreement with any of it. The building code requires a separation, and it may be 12 feet, I was thinking it was 10 feet. The other option, if you guys wanted to make sure that there is a 12-foot separation, is you could request, and I don't know if this is a problem. How far were you planning to set the house back? You're planning to keep it 12 feet apart, right?
Yes.
So
There will be more than 12 feet, I
yeah,
believe.
you could request a 10-foot, and basically no living unit easement to be put there, and that would go with the land. You could, if the owner was willing to accept that as you can put a condition on it, that would give you something that goes with the land. But the building code, and it's either 12 or 10 feet, the building code will either force you to have them a certain distance apart, or have have a full firewall between them, which is essentially what Don said. This is R3 zoning, so it would be legal to build, and there's somewhere between 24 and 25,000 square feet on these 3 lots that are portrayed as track 1, 2, and 3. at a unit for every 1,250 square feet, what do we say, a 16-plex theoretically could be built there as long as you keep it under 45 feet and not on top of the sewer. The other thing, the city had utilities in there, but with no recorded easement, it's not always easy to figure out where something is. Just because even with a manhole on the site, it isn't guaranteed that you can tell what direction sewer lines, that sort of thing is going. So I think his argument that it's certainly not self-created. It's certainly not something that was easily foreseen. So these are legitimate. It's one of those this is a rare case in a city that's basically flat. You get a lot more of this if you buy a piece of land like John was saying, where you got radical topography, where you've got huge slopes. And, you get more cases in cities where you've got that kind of topography. Here, the obstacle is underground and couldn't be seen easily, and was not recorded was not recorded on an easement in the land records. So the city has no problem. There may be benefits to having single-family style units. That's something the board can consider. Really, it's a low-density development for the amount of land that's available and the zoning. It would be an extremely strict standard to hold him to say that, you're not guaranteed the maximum profit of your land by land use law. This is not even close to that. If you were not to get this variance, there are other more intense uses that would still be allowed on that piece of land. So by not allowing this, you're not necessarily reducing. If that was a goal, which is not, I don't know that that's a legitimate goal, but if that were your goal, you would not necessarily achieve that by turning down this application. And the cost of moving the power line, we looked at it briefly. The city's part alone, I think we came in somewhere north of $30,000. Plus, we'd have to get the cooperation of CenturyLink, I was going to call them GTE, CenturyLink and Charter. So that's prohibitive as well, cost prohibitive.
Do you see that this would cause the city any kind of problems at all by allowing this variance?
No. I mean, the one you mentioned about being close to the sewer line, but that's really, no. And we have that sort of situation relatively frequently. And as Don said, he's proposing to give a 20-foot easement where there is none right now. So that would be an advantage to the city. There are plenty of 15 and 16-foot easements in the city currently. A 20-foot easement is as wide as we ever asked for. And the fact that the sewer line is 10 feet down, it would require trenching and shoring to dig there safely anyway. So we don't open up 30-foot holes when we're going 10 feet underground. So there would not cause the city any problems. I mean, lots of things people do cause us little problems, but this one would not. This would not cause. The simple answer is this would not cause us any problems. I can think of a development that's going on right now that's 100% legal that causes us more problems.
Do you have any discussion on this? Any opinions, clarification?
I don't see what's gonna hurt in that piece of property where we,
I've looked at the property and I personally think it would be more attractive to have 3 single family homes there than it would be an apartment complex or something.
And I'm not trying to argue in favor or against this, but right now you have a house on a 50-foot lot, and that's less than ideal. Also, that house will now be on a 75-foot lot, which is, if that house has some age on it. If that house eventually is removed and you want to put something back there, you're much better off with a 75-foot lot. It's easier to sell, so. I think that's as close to a fact as you can, I mean, I guess there's a little opinion in there, but that is something else to consider. And when I'm looking at it, that's gonna make my life, or, 20 years from now, my, not, whatever it is, successor. Thank you, that's the word, my successor would be a lot better off with a 75-foot lot there. Anything else?
Think we're ready for a vote? You want to start? You want to allow the variance?
Yes.
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 I have to recuse myself, so.
And I'll agree with it as well. So we have the variance. The next issue is what, as may arise. I don't know of anything. Does anybody else? I'd say we're adjourned.
Second.